Welcome back to another video. In this one, I'm going to be covering some AQWorld news as well as some AQWorld Infinity news. Let's get into it. The first thing I noticed was this. This really surprised me. There's going to be a new way to purchase hero points using adventure coins. It says you can buy new hero points with adventure coins, then spend them in the shop. And the ability to buy hero points will be coming in-game later this month. One of the reasons why they're adding that is because a lot of people are wanting other options to purchase this armor set, which will be available in-game also via Hero Mart. So this is going to be really nice, and also for any future stuff as well, especially for those of us who just can't afford to purchase stuff off of Hero Mart. And you might be happy to know Yoshino's limited event is going to be returning February 11th. That is going to be awesome. I love these events. And obviously, I am not the only one. Now I'm going to be checking out some AQWorld Infinity news. I love staying up to date with this. Now I usually go into detail reading line by line these design notes. I'm not going to be doing that in this video. Now if you prefer I do that, then I can change it up. Otherwise, I'm just going to be reading anything that I think would be interesting news to you guys. So we get a secret sneak peek at the cutscene and dialogue editor in action. So here's some of the different things they already have in file. This is the current actor Vidrian with a position, all the different details right there, and then the dialogue going on. Our dialogue editor may not look pretty, but it now allows the team to build anything goes cutscenes in Infinity. When the cutscenes play in-game, it will look normal and not have all these weird bars and buttons all over the place. What you're looking at, Mrs. Girl is the character in green right there. She is a stand-in for the player. The yellow bar is just a selection indicator, which this right here allows you to quickly flip the character. Those little red buttons on the speed bubbles, I think they meant speech bubbles, allow us to change the style of the bubble arrow and location of the bubbles, which would be these things, making them how big you need to make them and so on and so forth. The editor worked in frames, so the X40 indicates which frame of the cutscene you are on, which is down here, how many frames there are. I spent the day with Ghost and Tunic working on motion tweening and easing. We talked about easing in last week's post a bit. It got a bit technical, so I didn't read all of that, but that is a way of controlling how something works, whether it's fast or slow. Notice how the Frogzard actually bounces until the 1 second ends. Hard to believe he's actually just moving in a straight line with a special ease curve. Easing can now also be added to the scaling objects. This allows Ghost to achieve what looks like a cinematic 3D zoom. So you can see the zooming out a little bit. That's kind of neat. While animators like Ghost can still do special custom animations, this tool will allow any dev to make and edit cutscenes. The feature creep on this tool really did spiral out of control, but ultimately it was worth it. This cutscene editor tool will allow us to do a lot of things that made AQWorlds interesting and memorable. Combat stats are in the game. Immortal Joe already modified the warrior, rogue, mage, and healer to use the new stats. It needs some serious testing and balancing. I was asked if we could wait until Monster AI working to do our next major test. The guys are really excited about some ideas they have for boss monster combat. Ooh, that sounds interesting. I told them they had my full support. We're going to need a little extra time to finish the quests and cutscenes in Bloodrut 2. Also, for weird glitches like this. Then down here, you've got a little dialogue cutscene. See that little pop when it changes frames? The camera was not changing at the same time as the game objects. Bugs like this are the worst. Thursday throwback. And then there's a little image of the original Adventure Quest. Goes into some detail regarding the original Adventure Quest, which is pretty neat. Added music and sound effects to cutscenes and some advanced map music stuff. Goes into some detail here regarding the sound effects and the music that plays via cutscenes and via maps. So they don't want to have it being interrupted between certain sequences and whatnot, which makes sense because then you have that nice flow through. So if something abruptly cuts off, like the music or something, would sound really, really bad. So this is one of those complicated things. Not only are you dealing with those complications, but also memory management is another one. The game's audio manager does some of the heavy lifting, but some of the things we want to do creates orphans, which is outside of the normal audio manager, and then this adds up and then crashes the game because there's just too much memory. So, still working on that. Another interesting challenge is the timing of sound effects in the cutscenes. Our cutscene system uses frames, but does not have full animation timeline like Flash did. We can play animations. So, maybe on frame 3, the character throws a karate punch at an unsuspecting board. Here's how the animation goes. The fist flies, the punch lands, and then you pull your hand back. But how do we add the meaty thwack sound at the moment your hand hits the board? We cannot put it at the start of the frame. That'd be too early. Same problem at the end. One solution is to add a delay timer to the sound. Not a perfect solution, but not bad. So this is just one of the small little tiny issues that they have to deal with when when making this game. So we're thinking of the big picture stuff, but you have no idea how these tiny little things like this are causing complications and issues. It's crazy. Just the amount, the layers you have to go through. Unrelated, here are some skulls. And you got some image of skulls. The second one has William Shakespeare vibes. Now he shows this image, and this is rather interesting. So you've got your weapon enhancement stats, your class enhancement stats, cape enhancement, so on and so forth. Underneath there, you have your primary stats showcasing these, which underneath leads to secondary stats like accuracy, crit mod, haste, evasion, effectiveness, and so on and so forth. This is really, really interesting. Now here's some crazy news. As you know, Worley created our lightweight launcher. Now when I opened this link, it takes me to this. So not exactly sure what he's trying to link, but maybe you need to have staff permissions or you need to be signed in or something. I don't know. But this lets you play the web-based games. When player support is sent bugs and issues, he's the one who fixes it. Captain Rhubarb is too. A recent bug resulted in him checking on the status of Ruffle, a Rust-based Flash emulator. They've been working on ActionScript 3 compatibility for a long time, and the latest release is looking really good. A Rust-based solution may allow AQWorld and our other games to work inside a web browser again. It could likely allow us to publish platform-specific games that we could put on Steam, Epic Games, and the Windows Store. Not very good for mobile, though. This news is only a few hours old, and it's extremely foolish of me to be posting this without testing, but get ready to help us with some testing in the next week or two. A single person can do the work to set it up. This was a pretty crazy news to end a Friday on. Oh, I nearly forgot. If you're thinking, is it a good idea to put two versions of AQWorlds on Steam at the same time? Then the answer is yes. We can call one AQWorlds Infinity and the other AQWorlds, the original Flash MMO, to make it super clear. I think other studios might have buried this news thinking that anything improving our future-proofing the original game would hurt the new one, but our goal is the preservation and future-proofing our games. Since AQWorld Infinity would be the clear and only viable choice for mobile, and also for anyone who wants 60 frames per second and improved gameplay on PC, it makes perfect sense. Not to mention, of course, there's just going to be so much more better things in AQWorld Infinity. Do you like the idea of putting both versions of the game up if we can? Has anyone else ever done anything like this? Do you think people will pick one of them or the other to be their main? And do you think people will switch between them for different reasons? This is pretty weird, right? Wow. So this is some pretty big friggin' news. What do you guys think about that? Having the games, the current original AQWorld available on Steam. I personally would absolutely love that as well. I would still focus more on AQWorld Infinity as I'm just really wanting a reset at this point. Personally, I would love to have a reset on AQ3D too. But yeah, things are looking up, and that is it for this one. If you guys made it this far into the video, post a secret word update into the comment. Thanks for watching and keep those swords swinging.